All righty. Good to go. It's a little behind the scenes after finishing day one. So I'm Lake and Peace. Finishing day one of our marital communications mastery course. So at this point, what we're going to do is just have a few different question and answers at this time. So if you have some, put them up live, or we've already received some, and we'll address those right now.
Let's see.
One question a sister asked was, why do you refer to initial wife and then subsequent wife? Why not just say wife or wives? Why are you saying initial and subsequent?
Is that for you?
No, that's for you. Because you were looking for other questions, so
okay.
Still looking for other questions after
that. Well, some things are specific to one of us. So, if somebody says, did your first wife or your subsequent wife have the 7 kids, and you say my subsequent wife, doesn't mean she's second or behind me. Some things are just really specific, and we just try to keep it simple, but we're not offended by that, because the intention on our part is not to offend any position that anyone is in, because we're both wives, of course, but some things are just specific to one or the other one. So we don't want to say second wife, because then it you came in second race and the first one wins and all this. You wouldn't believe the things people say, but or some of the things people believe, but that's how I look at it. Things are just specific to one or the other of us. And sometimes people don't know our names. So they'll say first or subsequent wife.
And that's pretty much the deal with me too. It's because things are specific.
Right.
As we say, why your wife or your wives or things like that. But when we're speaking or training or talking about certain things, we're talking about it from the position of an initial wife or a subsequent wife or things like that. And people who are initial wives or subsequent wives, they kind of feel that, and they can understand that, and they can feel the emotion or whatever the training is. They can feel a connection from, I guess, what order you came in. And order is not to say, just like Fatimah said, it's not you're first in a race or anything like that, or you're higher on the totem pole or anything like that. It pretty much is just, this is how things happen in life, and this is the order, and it could be, it's just a timeline.
It's the timeline.
So, pretty much that.
And it's no shade.
Right. And it's, again, like the lady said, it's about specificity, which is important. I mean, because, for example, there was a question asked earlier today, well, how do you deal with the rumors of being a home wrecker and yada, yada, right? So obviously that's directed to the person coming into the marriage, subsequent wife, right, or second wife, or third or fourth, whatever. So then we know who that's directed to. And then there's other questions of, well, how did you feel about when your husband says he's gonna marry another wife?
Right.
Obviously, not obviously, but usually that's directed to the first wife. I mean, somebody might want to know the second, but they're already assuming that the second or subsequent wife would already know or have feel a certain way because they came in as a second wife. Okay, yeah. So it's for specificity purposes. That's it. And people attach too much stuff to labels. But that's all. It's not part. Just like you say, first or second. We're not talking about a race or a place. We're just saying who you marry first and who you marry second or third or fourth. Okay, that's all.
That's it. Keep it simple.
Another question says, you and your co-wife have not been talking for a little while. Now, it clearly is mutual jealousy being married to the same man, but you want to reach out so that both of you can speak your mind. How would you do it?
I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I think that when you look at another person, especially your co-wife, in fragments, and instead of looking at her as a whole person who's a mother, a wife, a daughter, an aunt, a cousin to other people, and you start to look at them in pieces, then you start to pick those pieces apart. It can get dangerous, but I think it's important to understand that you need to not come to each other off the strength of talking about your husband that you shared. You need to learn who the other one is as an individual. Like, what's their favorite color? What do they like to eat? Like, I need to know this, what the sister's allergic to, so I don't give her that. We don't have to talk about him all the time. And it's funny because somebody told me the man in the middle is the star, but they don't want to be the star. So they don't want to be the topic of all conversation, and they don't want to be the one to pull everything together. So try to look and just like you meet anybody else, of course you have the same husband, but it's important, and it's a certain level of maturity that you have to exhibit when you learn who somebody is as an individual. That's how I look.
Well, how do you do it? How do you actually reach out to them? That's the question. What are some steps or some techniques or tips to reach out? Maybe you weren't the one reaching out. Or you don't want to reach out.
I could say, of course, being cordial, giving salams first and foremost, or saying, "Hey, how you doing?" Right. Depending on how the person communicates, you have their phone number, maybe a text, maybe a little letter, a little note or something like that. I think one of my things was little gifts. Yeah, that's kind of. You can
always hit me with a gift. Everybody knows that.
Start off like that, and then a little note with it.
I don't care if it's a book of matches. I'm like, ooh, this is for me. But it's really more the gesture behind it. But I always repeat this, and I'm going to keep repeating it. Give yourself permission to talk to your co-wife, because you don't need to get it from anybody but yourself. And just have an open mind. So I like this where, oh yeah, I'll talk to her, but then when she talks back to me, I'll pick up thing she says. You don't like that either. So give yourself permission to have a really healthy conversation and have fun with it. Don't make it about one man.
And have like an end goal. Like have an end goal. Yeah. And like, what are you getting together for? Why are you getting together? Are you getting together to bash somebody, or are you getting together to
bash each other?
Bash each other? Because the question did say speak your mind. So what does that mean? What does that mean? Really,
respectfully speak.
Respectfully speak, and have a positive goal in mind, and keep that the main thing.
Yep. One of the things I would probably suggest is to, excuse me. You mentioned mutual jealousies. Well, consider the least challenging path. Okay, so the easiest route, the path of least resistance is what it's called. All the way around now. The path of least resistance. So maybe write something, an email or a letter or something like that, just explaining who you are. That, I'm this, I'm jealous of you, and this and that, and this is why. Being transparent, and I just want to reach out to you. Tell you, I want to reach out to you. Maybe we can fix or rectify something, or at least be better than we are now. I know, blah, blah, blah. Because, people change, they grow. And sometimes the challenge is somebody just has to take the first step. So maybe that can, exactly, be vulnerable. Maybe that can help.
Yeah. And some people don't like being vulnerable, but you will have times on this journey where you will be, whether it's in your hand or out of it. So, for me personally, it's better. I feel better controlling what I allow in my space and in my life. So I know that being on this platform, the three of us, you have to be vulnerable to be here, and you have to be able to listen to somebody else's experience of being here. So there's three sides to this experience. So if you allow yourself to soften and let somebody in your life, you don't have to tell them everything. He's still learning stuff about me. He's been knowing me since I was very young. But you gotta be willing, a willing participant.
I like that where you said, first give yourself permission, and be vulnerable. Yeah. The thing is, it's not easy for us to be vulnerable, but be vulnerable to who you trust. This is your family. When you're looking at it, and it depends on how you look at it, but you are coming into a family, or you are part of a family. And families aren't going to always get along. I don't always get along with my sister. I don't know, but I still love her. And then sometimes we do get along, and a lot of times we do. You know, it's going to be ups and downs, but you know that, and look at it as a relationship, because that's what it is. And what you want it to be, you can build on that, and you can build on that together. And just first off, start off by saying, "Hi, my name is."
Slim Shady. So 2 things on that though. Just to one, it shows a step of maturity, but also being vulnerable. Don't be too vulnerable. Like the other person is not mature trying to make that step, because most things can be forgiven. There's very few things that wouldn't get past. All right, there's very few things. So if something happens, one thing you're not able to really get past is really a serious thing. Meaning somebody's, you know, really like physically harmed, or like a child or something like that. It's one of those type of things. It may not be able to get past it. However, I doubt it's one of those things. The other thing is not being too vulnerable. What I mean by that is if the other party isn't at least neutral or amicable to it, then you might not want to share with them your allergies just yet.
Indeed.
Okay.
Dun, dun.
So you don't want to get something and all this. Oh yeah, tell me. Okay. I'll make you some dinner tonight.
But I also think when you go into that, you have to, if you're gonna talk to someone and they're not saying what you want them to say, you have to go into it not expecting certain things in return. So if you're gonna do good for somebody, do it because you want to do it. Don't go, well, I gave her a gift and she didn't give me one back. Don't keep score of that first initial interaction, because I've seen wives wreck each other upon speaking for the first time, where it's the subsequent wife is getting this barrage of military style questioning, like an interrogation. And that's not fair, because for me, that makes the other person feel like you're violating them in some way. And we're here to help each other through this life. This life will be over before you know it. So we need to make a decision to be healthy and show up in a healthy, calm, peaceful way in somebody else's life. Because if you do not, you can affect the way somebody else mothers or fathers their children or does business. And I mean, they got to let you kind of do that, but you know when you mean good to somebody and when you don't.
Next question.
Get me started.
I said, when problems arise, women are very prone to considering divorce quickly. How can sisters work on this within themselves? We talked about at the beginning, we talked about communicating with yourself, and communication being, it can make or break your relationship. It can make or break your marriage. How it can also, lack of communication can tear it up.
Yes.
So how can we as sisters work on ourselves to immerse yourself in personal development? I talked about personal development before, reading the right books, reading positive things. When I was new in my marriage, and I didn't know, when I was new to adulthood, I didn't know about personal development like that, because that wasn't something that was talked about in my household and my community. None of that stuff. That wasn't a thing, because even as a Black woman, you got to be a strong Black woman, strong, independent Black woman, and all this other stuff. So if you needed some help, you were weak. You were considered weak. You should be able to handle this. You should be able to take care of this. And that created a lot of trauma and a lot of drama and things as far as that. So to kind of get out of that mindset, to change that mindset and say, you know what, I need some help with something. I need to better myself, and always work on bettering yourself, improving yourself.
That doesn't stop.
It goes back to when I just love the story with Viola Davis. I just love that, where she said before she got married, before she even knew who her husband was going to be, she went to therapy. She put herself in therapy because she said, I know I'm coming in with a lot of baggage from my past, from, how I grew up or anything like that. And I don't want him to have to deal with that. I want to be fixed.
You don't want to show up broken.
I want to be fixed, and I want to deal with that. So how can we work on that? How can we do that? Work on ourselves. you know, fix these broken pieces.
Yeah.
So we go in as a whole person. Don't expect your spouse to fix you or give you the pieces that are missing in your life. You know, he's a whole person, you're a whole person, and
Yeah.
you come together that way, not two halves to make a whole.
I agree. And I don't think that when you go through tough times in your marriage, I don't think divorce should be thrown out there so easily, because it's not easy to separate yourself from somebody mentally and physically. That takes a long time. It could take months, it could take years. And I remember my grandmother told me something really powerful. She's not Muslim, but she's got wisdom because she's been through a lot. She said, my marriage to your grandfather got to the point where if he came through the door, I didn't care if he lived or died. Then I knew I needed to divorce him. Because then at that point, the father of my kids, I don't care if you are around or not, I don't care if you die or whatever. Then the warmth for him was gone. The care for him was gone, but he had done so much damage, and they damaged each other, actually. She said, then I knew I was ready. But it still wasn't easy, whether somebody's good to you or bad to you. She said, it's still not easy to divorce someone. So I think things need to be worked on actively, and not just say, we're going to work on it, and then you don't do any work.
And just throw the
That
divorce.
shouldn't be the first
That
thing.
shouldn't be the first thing,
You shouldn't
because you don't get
threaten
your
with
way.
that. Yeah.
You just want to throw everything, just throw in the towel because you don't get your way.
You ain't always got to be right either. So you don't want to be, you know, you don't want to be right all the time, and then say, you know, you feel threatened by somebody else's truth, and then you want to throw out divorce. I think it's not wise.
Have anything to say on that? I know it says sisters, but do you have any male insight on that one?
Kick it.
Really deciding on what your limits are, and whether or not that actually hit your limit, or are you just being emotional? You know, is there something to throw away?
Yeah.
Because I'm
And don't
emotional.
say that when you're angry. Yeah,
you
don't
know.
throw that out when you're angry. Throw that out when you're logical, and you have all the facts, and you can. I think divorce is something that needs to be decided. You know, as a couple, sometimes, because you have children, you might have children too, and you got to think about the impact.
And this is only dealing with healthy. Otherwise,
Yeah,
right,
we're not
healthy
of
talking
course,
about
of course.
somebody
obviously
beating
divorce
you.
should have been thought about
Getting-
right away and happen
Yes.
when there's physical abuse, there's domestic
Yes.
violence, and all other types of
Right.
abuse.
Right.
Get up out of there.
Right.
All right.
Quick, fast,
Try to
and
find
hard.
people that can assist you and help you with that, no matter the situation. So we're talking about, when we say divorce, we're talking about an otherwise healthy relationship. All right. Seek help if it's other than
Right.
that. All right. Whether, again, it's mental health, physical, whatever it may be. We are not advocating you stay married in
No.
any type of abusive relationship that is tearing you down. That's not
We're
what
always
talking about,
first
suffering through that.
Coming from the standpoint of a healthy relationship. That's
Right.
always first. So yeah, that's important. Go if you have to go.
Another question. One of your favorite or one of your favorite communication tips or mantras or something like that.
As a co-wife, I speak from wife to wife, that I feel like, from my experience, don't just reach out once to each other. I think, especially when you share a family and you have children that are siblings, it's important to speak to each other on a consistent basis. You know, now my consistent might be every day, yours might be once a week, twice a month, but it should be a common practice, and make it easier and make it hard for each other. So if the sister's trying to reach out, I think keeping the lines of communication open is important.
Mine is for the greater good.
Yeah.
For the greater good.
Yes.
That is kind of like a thing that echoed in my head. I don't even remember where I got it from or why I started using that as a mantra for mine. So even at the beginning of my marriage until now, and just continuously, that is my thing. I always want to come in with what is for the best? You know, what's the thing that's for the greater good? When I speak to you, how it's going in the best possible way for the most part. Now, hey, I'm not perfect. I might get my attitude or something on or whatever. I might have a bad moment in the day. However, for the most part, when I'm conscious of it, my main thing is for the greater good. How we're going to take care of whatever we need to take care of that's going to be beneficial for everybody involved.
Right. I agree.
Mine would be really simple, is to grow up. Just grow up. Mature, meaning to think before you speak. We do it all the time. That's just a form of self-control. So there are some times when it's best not to respond at all, ever to it. There are other times, excuse me, where you need to check gratitude and cool down first to see if it's that important to address. Right. Or, address at appropriate times, a grown-up thing to do. And any little sorry, weak excuses are just sorry, weak excuses. What I mean is, if you're on a job and the boss upsets you, you ain't just gonna go take your mind say that out. No, because there's some repercussions. Your job could be on that line. So we control our, man, okay. Yeah, the day is ending. If we control our attitude and our communication at a time where we're emotionally distressed and in a problem with an employer, okay, because we can and we do, then we can evidently use the same behavior and thinking pattern consciously as a grown adult, as self-discipline with the ones we love more than we love our employers.
That's so true.
So grow up. That's my advice here.
Yep.
Good.
Anything else?
That's all.
That's it.
All right. End of day one, question and
All right.
answer session. And being behind the scenes, we appreciate you tuning in, submitting your questions. We look forward to tomorrow, day 2. And I will speak less, so I will have more voice. Yay! All right, we appreciate you again. Thank you much. Prayerfully got some good information. You can start implementing it right away. Reach out to us at support@outstandingmuslimparents.com, or of course our website. The email is support@outstandingpersonalrelationships.com. You can go to the other one. That's we do parenting teaching too, but outstandingpersonalrelationships.com /MCM for the live for tomorrow. Look forward to seeing you there. Be well. Remember, a wish changes nothing, but a decision changes everything. Assalamu alaikum. Peace.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace.
See you tomorrow. Peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
Well, you gave us right.
Yeah.
And the sun came out.